Hello and welcome to the hashtag Trib Friday Night Multimedia Podcast, coming to you from the Franklin Avenue Studios here in beautiful downtown Waco.
Super-centex.
Super-centex. Yep. The Super-centex studio. That's right.
Yes.
I
don't think you've ever called this thing the same thing twice, by the way.
Well, good. Because this week I'm even going to change it a little bit.
Okay.
And it's a tribute podcast. We're doing a tribute to our friend Kristin Hoppa.
Amen.
Who passed away last week. Shocking all of us. And that's why I'm wearing my Chiefs hat today. Kristin was a big Chiefs fan, and so we're going to dedicate this podcast, as well as I'm going to wear it during the college podcast as well. And
sounds great.
We're going to carry on with our usual sort of style, which is to joke around and whatever, because Kristin was one to joke around and have fun like that too. So,
absolutely.
In fact, one quick story before we go any further. A couple weeks ago, I walk over to her desk, and she's from Kansas City, went to Kansas, and big Chiefs fan. So I walk over to her desk on Thursday and I said, "Hey, the Chiefs and Texans play Thursday night." And she was like, "Yeah, let's have a party. Hey, Rod, we're having a party." Rod Adelot, our photo editor. "Hey, Rod, we're having a party to watch the Chiefs game." I was like, "What?" The train had left the station, the party train was already
It did not
going,
take much
right?
for Kristin to get a party going.
Yeah, so we did that. We went over to Rod's. It turned out, and so we get there, and we ordered a pizza and had beverages and everything like that. And Kristin the whole time was like, "Yeah, well, Chad wanted to have a party."
She put it off on you.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So,
God bless her.
Yeah. So anyway, so wearing the Chiefs hat in her honor today. Let's see. Let's start with the pound for pound rankings like we usually do. I know there might not have been any changes, but even if not, just give us a quick rundown of those.
I have one change.
You do have a change, okay.
Just one, but my top four do remain the same, and that's partially because two of those teams didn't even play last week. Martin, la-vega, I still have them 1-2. We've kind of run down why the Panthers and the Pirates are right at the top and should be playing deep into December. I've got Jonesboro still at number 3. The Eagles are 5-0, still clicking along. I've got China Springs still sitting there at number 4. Cougars are playing well. And then my team that dropped out were the Bremont Tigers, who lost to Centerville last week.
Okay, right.
And, I think the thing about Bremont this year, it looks like, they've got an offense that can put up some points and stuff with Seth Kosowski at quarterback. And he also plays on defense like a lot of small school kids do. But that one of the underrated things about those multiple state championship teams at Bremont, everybody looked and saw Rashad Paul running all over the field and just thought, oh my gosh, Bremont can outscore. But they had a defense that was stout. And I'm a little questioning whether Bremont still has that same kind of defense. They gave up 36 to Centerville.
Right.
So Tigers drop out. I still think they're going to be a good team. But the team that I'm ascending into that spot is the Crawford Pirates.
Sure. Yeah.
You've seen Crawford play. Crawford's sitting there at 4-0. And last game, which was, I guess, 2 weeks ago, there's another one that didn't play, I guess, last week.
Had their bye week.
Was against Holland, and that was a really solid win for Crawford. They will start district play this week against Toller. And, I think Crawford is the team to beat in that district.
Well, it's a vintage Crawford team, if you will. They don't
explain.
Well, they don't vary a whole lot. They do a lot of the same things year to year. But what you saw with them, particularly go back to 2004 and think about what they had there, and that was a lot of contributors. And whether it was passing game or running game or defense, they had playmakers in all facets. And I feel like they have that again.
Yeah, and we've talked about Greg Jacobs that's been there a while, so he's kind of continuing that Crawford style that we've come to know and expect, and has come to serve them well. So.
Right. And they've got names that that pop, even though they don't like to have a lot of individuality out there necessarily. But Breck Chambers was a great player as a freshman for them last year. Luke Torbert's really coming on, having a good season. Tanner Morinda has really developed into a nice quarterback in their system the last couple of years. Garrett Pearson, there's others I could name, but those four, kind of lead the way in a lot of respects for them. And 2A D1, if you got four guys that you can name on a team,
Yeah, no doubt. I do think that Crawford Bosqueville game should be fun when that one rolls around. Bosqueville seems like it's starting to find its footing a little bit.
Right.
And to me, that would be the game in that district that I would want to see. The rest of those teams, I'm not sure if they can give Crawford a game.
Right. Of course, that Crawford Bosqueville thing comes up in a lot of sports.
Yeah, it does. It's fun.
Yeah. So Crawford moves up, probably only moves up, if we're one spot. They were probably right on the outside looking in. If we were to rank all of our teams, pound per pound in our super-centex, you're right. But think about it, and that would be a list of about 60, is that correct?
Yeah, 66, I think.
66, yeah. So, or, that would be the Super 66. Maybe we should do it. Yeah.
Is there Phillips 66 still? Is that a thing? We could get some cross promotion.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Good old Texas Oil Company there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, so, I put here in the script said that would be hard to do. Right?
Yes, it would be hard to do.
But let's imagine that we did it,
okay.
Right? Our two biggest movers, I don't think there's any question, our two biggest movers after last week would have been Waco High and McGregor.
Okay.
Both would have moved up quite a bit. How much do you think each of those might have shot up the imaginary poll?
I'm saying at least 10 spots each.
Right.
And my reasoning there is two good wins. Different kind of wins, and I'll break those down a little bit. I mean, McGregor, I think we thought had the potential to be a good team. They just needed that sort of breakthrough win to prove it a little bit. Right. They needed a prove-it win. And to me, that's what the Rockdale game was for McGregor. It was a prove-it win. They have a great quarterback in DeAndre McDaniel, who's leading Central Texas in passing. Some good backs. I think Chad Lorenz.
That's right. Yeah.
And then defensively, I mean, they were able to do enough to shut Rockdale down to win that game.
Get out ahead of them.
Yeah, and this isn't 2017 Rockdale, and yet Rockdale was state ranked at one point this season. That's a good win for McGregor. There's no question. And so, I don't know where we would have had them in those rankings, but I think 10 spots easy they would have jumped. And then same for Waco High. The Lions beat a West Mesquite team that was 2-8 in 2019, and it's breaking in a new coach in Frank Sandoval, who we know, from Mahia. But still, a good win to start the season for Kwame Cavill's team. And, he was telling me in the preseason, just a couple weeks ago, that he thought that they would be better. He thought that they were starting to grasp a few things. And, he wasn't sure exactly how that would look on the field. But, again, a good start for Waco High. They scored 32 points. They made the plays they needed. Obviously, they've still probably got some things to polish up and clean up. And they're still going to have a tough road in that district that they're in. But certainly a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you think about the fact that they started school on September 8th, and practice on the 7th and school on the 8th. And so they weren't in a situation like Midway was in where they didn't start practice until September 7th, and yet they had an athletics period for 2 weeks leading up to that.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal for them. Speaking of Midway, they host Austin Westlake on Friday night, and with that, Midway will be the last team to play a real live game, I believe, in our super-centex coverage area. General feel. How do you think things are going here in the COVID-19 era of high school football?
All right. Let me think of a scattershot quarterback here. How about Baker Mayfield? That one will.
Oh my God!
That one will resonate with you, won't it?
It's that bad, is it?
Well, what I'm saying is, it's hit and miss. Baker Mayfield certainly capable of making a big time throw, and he's had good games in the NFL where he's played well. And then he's had games where he's thrown 4 picks.
Right.
I think it is absolutely a hit and miss kind of deal with COVID right now. We're seeing some teams that have managed to get through all of their games. Yeah. And then we're seeing other teams who've had games shut down for one case, or every year some phrase comes into our vernacular that was never on our radar before.
Right.
And this year it's contact tracing is one of them. I don't think we had ever thought about contact tracing before. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things that's...
I would have thought that was something you did at Hobby Lobby before this year.
I like it. I like it. Contact tracing, yes. So, go check out your local Hobby Lobby.
See, when I think of Baker Mayfield, I think of a type of a guy, and maybe this is what 2020 is like too, a type of a guy that breaks up with his girlfriend for a better-looking girl and then talks trash about the ex-girlfriend.
You are not a Baker Mayfield fan.
I'm not.
I am not either, honestly. Although I will say his commercials are decent. The
one where he's trying to cover all the stadium seats before it rains.
Yeah, those aren't bad.
That's Home Depot, right?
Yeah, Progressive. I have no idea. That shows you maybe they're not as effective as they should be, because I don't know what they're pitching. But they are kind of funny.
I think it's probably an insurance commercial, because insurance commercials don't really have much point.
Right. Anyway, we're off the rails.
We are.
Kind of like this season sometimes. Sometimes we're on the rails, and sometimes we're off.
Maybe that's a more apt analogy
than
Baker Mayfield.
Thank you.
Finally, as I mentioned, I'm wearing my Chiefs hat in tribute to Kristin. She was a big Chiefs fan. And, we all watched the Super Bowl together, too. That was a previous party that we'd all had.
Uh-huh.
Now, I'm a Chiefs fan, and I'll admit it's because of Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
So, can you think of a football team that you've ever begun to follow because of one player like that?
I'm glad you phrased it that way, because you know how I am about my sports teams. I'm monogamous.
Right.
Yeah. I'm a strict sports monogamist.
I
don't understand the concept of second favorite team. That doesn't.
I don't either.
That doesn't register to me.
I totally get that.
Yeah. That said, the way you phrase that, have you ever followed a team because of a player? Oh yeah, sure. And I think back to one Vincent Jackson, otherwise known as Bo. I mean, you had to watch Bo Jackson. Mm-hmm. He was a freak of nature, just maybe the greatest all-around athlete I've seen come up in pro sports. I mean, the guy played at an all-star level in 2 different big-time, big-league professional sports. You know? And, did it. I mean, you could put Dion probably in that class too, but Bo was just so fun to watch. He mixed power and speed, and so I would watch those Raiders games back when he was with the Raiders, just to watch Bo.
Right.
He was that good, and certainly it translated over to Tecmo Bowl. Tecmo Bo. He was unstoppable. We had a rule in college. So we would play little Tecmo Bowl tournaments on our hall, my freshman year, and you couldn't be the Raiders, because if you were the Raiders, you pretty much
had an unfair advantage.
Automatically
won. It was
won.
like a coin flip if you got
Yeah.
Because I was born in 1977 and grew up in the 80s, I think Bo Jackson was the first collegiate superstar that I just remember being aware of, that might not have popped on my radar otherwise, but he was such a phenomenon at Auburn. A little bit, I want to say he was a little bit before Barry Sanders at Oklahoma State, who was another one that was a college superstar.
To me, Barry Sanders' 88 season, that's probably another one that I would watch Oklahoma State that year in 88 just to watch Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
I think that single season is maybe the best, one individual season I've ever seen from a guy. I mean, he was just unstoppable.
So let me draw a parallel there. I feel like Bo Jackson kind of changed the way we view sports in a way.
Okay.
I mean, he and Michael Jordan were contemporaries essentially. Jordan was like maybe a couple of years older. But, you know, the baseball-football crossover, the Bo Diddley ads, and the Bo Knows, you know, he was that, and then, you know, he backed it up in two different sports. To me, the way Patrick Mahomes plays quarterback and his versatility and the way I honestly feel like part of his, like, ability and part of his greatness comes from just he's out there playing just because that's what he wants. He'd rather do that than anything else in the world. Yeah. And I feel like that comes across.
And I think he's probably, for the young kids today, the kids that we're talking about in high school, he's probably kind of like their Bo, you know, I mean, in terms of the things that he does out on the field are things that nobody else does. Like, didn't he have a pass, maybe his rookie year,
when he switched to his left hand?
His left-handed pass. And I mean, it seems like he's thrown another one underarm, sidearmed, or, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was his first full year as a starter. Of course, he was behind, unbelievably, he was behind Alex Smith for a year. But I think that served him well.
It did.
When you mentioned that kind of a play, you know, the other night it's 3rd and 14 in a tight game. Right? Mm-hmm. And he drops back and under pressure throws a 54-yard touchdown pass.
Yeah, ridiculous. Yeah. He is ridiculous. I'll put it like this. I was playing fantasy football this week, and I had a decent lead going into Monday night, but the other guy had Patrick Mahomes, and the site gave me an 87% chance to win my game.
And he cruised on by it.
And I was like, you guys are, that math does not equate, because I knew Patrick Mahomes could score enough points and he sure enough, so I lost my game.
Well, that was an indulgent way to finish for me because I'm such a big Patrick Mahomes fan, but I think it does well to complete our tribute to Kristin. She had actually brought me and John both Mahomes Crunch boxes back from Kansas City. So anyway,
Kristin will forever be our Mahomie.
Yep.